Hey everyone, it's Major Reaction coming at you with my latest action figure review. Today we will be looking at the Todd McFarlane Spawn Kickstarter. Now this is a past due review. I filmed the footage here for quite a while ago and just never got around to, doing my voiceover for it. So today I'll give you guys a look at the modern version of the Spawn Kickstarter. I went all in on the Todd McFarlane Kickstarter. And like many others, Todd led me to believe that we were going to get a product that in the end we did not receive. I was very disappointed with this, but since I've received the figure, I've kind of got over it. My wounds have healed. I've had time to, lick my wounds and recover from my, trauma. So we're going to take a look at this figure, and I'm going to just go ahead and give you guys the past due review that I owe you. So here's a look at the Todd McFarlane Kickstarter Modern Spawn. Let's get that beautiful bean footage rolling. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. So no matter how disappointed I was with the articulation and the things that we were promised to get, this figure still came out very beautiful. I can't knock it for how aesthetically pleasing it is and how beautiful it looks on the shelf. It will definitely be an eye catcher on anyone's DTOF or on their display shelves. This figure is beautifully sculpted, masterfully painted, and the attention to detail is just basically OCD level. They get some nice textures in the cape and the body and just a lot of cool musculature and things going on like that. The head sculpts are very well done, very detailed, basically almost ripped straight out of the comic book. Unfortunately, this figure suffers from a lack of articulation, but Todd did make sure to give us some really nice collector-friendly packaging, which he touted about and was very proud of before the Kickstarter launched. Here, let's take a close-up look at that head sculpt. This is the modern head sculpt that's included. Basically, like that meatball head spawn we get here. Kind of like just that corpse Hellspawn look here. Decayed flesh of Al Simmons, no longer a man, just a demon, a Hellspawn, to be used by the leader of hell himself, Malbolgia. Here we have the premium packaging that Todd McFarlane was very proud of. It features this nice black slipcase with the Spawn logo embossed on it in the front and that standout green color. Nice, shiny, kind of holographic appearance to it. On the inside, you get a black case with the Spawn logo embossed on it in a black. Get this nice kind of green pull open strap. Inside, you have that nice collector clamshell packaged with a foam insert. Inside, we also get a Al Simmons Head sculpt, a Necroplasma Effect, a Necroplasm Dagger, and a Rob Liefeld level ridiculous gun. So here we're taking a look at that collector clamshell I talked about. It can be used to remove the figure and safely put the figure back and display it the way you like to mint on card, or you can take it out and play around with it and put it back whenever it suits you. Unfortunately, there are a couple twist ties that hold Spawn in and a twist tie that holds his piece of wood with the nail. It's a little more elaborate than that with this figure, but it basically holds that into place too. So once you open the figure and you sever those, people will realize that it has been opened and used. So, but the packaging maintains the integrity of the figure, and that kind of maintains some of the value, in my opinion. You get the reprint Spawn issue #1 packaged in with the figure. That's kind of inside of the clamshell casing. You also get a signed authenticity certificate from Todd himself. Here's a little picture of everything all together, the case and the comic. And another nice close-up on that nice, beautifully done head sculpt. This figure also features some realistic chains right there holding the cape on, and then again on the lower half near the belt area. So little real metal chains, nice detail on the skulls. You can see the detail on the sculpt and the paint. The paint is beautifully done. No sloppiness on the lines. The cape even has kind of like black shading to it, and just really nicely done. Very, very good attention to detail. Here's the Necroplasma Effect that comes packaged in the figure. You can place this in his open hand to make it look like he's kind of grasping and making the necroplasm appear from his hand. It lights up really nice. It's nice and translucent. Here we have the Necroplasm Dagger. Very sharp. Cleanly done. I wish it was kind of more like the Flame and kind of more jagged in appearance, kind of like ethereal looking, but you know, it's translucent and nice necroplasm green. Here's that Rob Liefeld gun I was talking about. You basically get a grenade launcher, a rocket launcher, and an assault rifle all put together in one. Rob Liefeld would definitely be jealous of that gun or would have designed it himself. And last but not least, we have the Simmons Head sculpt, which is very nicely done with the necroplasm green eyes. One thing that makes this head sculpt different than that unmasked Hellspawn head sculpt is the fact that this is a separate piece from the neck. The head is separate from the neck with the Al Simmons head sculpt. And yeah, sorry, before I forget, let's show off the accessories. You get a little Spawn base stand. You get his, infamous board with a nail in it, which is kind of taken to the extreme, almost looks like a cleaver-like appearance. And then you get a total of 3 sets of hands. So hands to hold his accessories with, fists, and then kind of open grasping hands. Make sure you pull the cape back and hold the figure tightly. Don't just try to move the cape back because you probably experience like breakage issues or stretching in the plastic if you don't do it properly, and you can remove the foam inserts easily. Let's go over articulation. This is where I have many issues and just, a lot of issues that should have been addressed before the figure went into production. This Hellspawn head sculpt is one single piece, the neck and the head. So when you turn it to the side to get, him looking to the side, you get this neck gap there. Now this can happen depending on what angles you put the figure in, but I find if you put the head in a downward tilt, it kind of eliminates that. You really have to play with the angles to use the head to its full advantage, because otherwise you get that neck gappage issue and it's not nice. Shoulders are very severely hindered by the cape. It's very hard up there near the pauldron area of the cape, and you don't get much use out of the upper bicep swivel, and you could barely pull off a T-pose with this guy. The arms are single jointed elbows. They do happen to get 90 degrees. If you work the plastic well, you got to work it. It's a little stiff right up package, so just bend it real nice. With the hands, you get swivel and hinge on every hand. But for some reason, it just doesn't feel right all the time. Maybe it's because the sculpts of the hands themselves, I don't know. But you do get full swivel, full hinge, back and forth, so can't complain too much. Here I demonstrate how you can get that 90 degree. You just got to kind of work that arm. Make sure you're always careful with the figures when you're posing them. Last thing you want to do is break a $60, $70 figure. Now, obviously, the articulation on this right arm is going to be a lot more hindered because there's a lot more armor pieces on this arm. You can only do the hinge inward because the gauntlet will stop you from doing like an outward hinge on certain angles. And it'll just look goofy any other way. Now, as far as ab crunch, there is none. There is like a torso crunch / swivel, and you get maybe 20-degree bend there, 30-degree bend there. You do get a swivel at that waist, but there's a pre-posed, the torso is basically pre-posed, so it looks kind of awkward no matter what you do with it. The legs have this nice kind of like, the pelvic area has a kind of nice plastic overlay. So you are able to do the splits and get some nice forward and back movement out of the legs. There are no upper thigh swivels. Both knees feature double jointed knees. So this is nice. You can get the full range out of both the knees. Even the left leg with the big armor piece, you can still get full range out of that double jointed elbow. Now, there isn't an upper bicep swivel, but you can swivel the leg near the top towards the pelvis. It doesn't work as well as an upper bicep swivel, but it works. There is a boot cut on the right calf, on the right boot, which I will show off. But as far as the feet, you only get hinge and toe hinge. So there's no swivel, there's no ankle rocker, there's no nothing to really stabilize the feet. And one thing I've noticed when standing this figure upright is that a lot of times that right leg, the one that doesn't feature any kind of armor on it, it tends to kind of stand off the ground a little because the figure it seems like that left leg is just a tad bit longer, to the point where it's always kind of using that left leg as its like stand. And there is no boot cut on that left leg due to the big old chunky piece of armor. So I always feel like this figure isn't always standing properly. You really have to work the angle to get both feet on the ground. And sometimes the cape will even be used as a stand. Most times you're going to be using the cape as a stand for your posing and stuff. Now here I'm going to show off the Simmons head. Now, like I said, this is 2 pieces, so you can get better range out of this head. You can actually move the head down on the neck, move it up on the neck a little bit. It's kind of hindered by the back of the head. And you can swivel it left and right on the neck, so you don't get that ugly neck gap when the whole base of the neck moves, because this is 2 separate pieces, unlike the unmasked Hellspawn head, which is just 1 piece from the neck and the head. So I don't know why they didn't do both pieces that way. It would have made way more sense to do both pieces the way they did the Simmons head and just make them 2 separate pieces, a separate neck base and a separate head. That way you get 2 different, points of articulation. You get more articulation there. The cape is big and foldable. It's a pain in the ass, and it only really looks cool statically. A more dynamic option would be a cloth cape, and there are many third-party dudes putting out capes for this figure. So if you can do the work and customize this figure and put on a nice cloth cape that you can get, it's going to really up the posability on the figure. But at the same time, you're going to have to do a bunch of mods on a figure that's costing you already about $70 to $80. So I don't think it's worth it to have to do those type of mods on a figure. One thing I think is Todd should have really kind of given us what he promised: a plastic overlay on the abs and an ab crunch. An actual dedicated ab crunch is kind of what he had said he was going to do. He said we're basically going to get more of a modern, updated type of articulation scheme. And then he kind of went back on that and kind of did what he normally does, which is kind of bare bones articulation that's kind of outdated and not, what we're used to. As far as, a dynamic posable figure, this isn't it. Beautifully aesthetic, beautiful sculpt, beautiful paint. That's what this figure is, and that's what Todd wanted. Hopefully here in the future, we will see some really cool articulated figures from Todd, and he will start to kind of move into the modern age of figures, and we can finally, get what we've been asking for, which is modern articulated figures, basically on par with Marvel Legends or imports, but with Spawn as our hero. We really like Spawn. He's one of the best anti-hero characters out there. His backstory is tragic and really makes you root for him, while at the same time his rogues gallery is, deep and, disturbing as well, because he has some like some of his enemies, reflect like real life murderers and things like that. So he has a pretty deep and dark character, rogues gallery. So some really good Spawn hero figures and Spawn villains. with good articulation and, decent paint apps. They don't even have to be as, good as, some of the stuff he does. Like this Spawn is beautifully painted. I think this is one of the most beautifully painted and sculpted figures I've ever seen. But as an ACBA artist and as a, action figure poser and displayer, this figure, is lacking big time for me. I want to really pick up the MK11, the Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn, and, really compare that one to this. And I have held it in hand, and I like the way it feels a little better. There's certain things I like about this figure a little better, probably aesthetically. But if we could mesh those two worlds, Todd could really have, an out of this world property on his hand. And I think he would do way more than 3 million on a line of figures if he just found the nice medium between, what he likes and what we want. He wants sculpt and paint. We want articulation and functionality. If he can mesh the two worlds together, he would really have a winning strategy on his hands. And I hope Todd really sees, what we want in the future. And I hope he really aims for it and nails it. So I've been rooting for you for a long time, Todd and Spawn. Spawn's always been one of my favorite characters. He was always way more mature and darker than what was on, Marvel and DC's plate. And I would really like to see him, hit a home run, not just in comics, but in figures and in maybe a movie as well. So here's hoping to see some good stuff. This is supposed to be 2021, the year of Spawn. So let's see Todd hit it out of the park this year. Thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe. Check us out on the Geek Out Show every week. Please subscribe to the podcast over there. Get us some more followers on the Instagram feed, the Geek Out Show, all one word. Look us up on Spotify, Apple Pod, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, basically. Check out the YouTube videos with Jason from Spiro Toys. His Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is a Kickstarter that just had great success and is currently sending out its backer kits to be chosen. And his pre-order store is open too. So if you missed out on the Kickstarter, get in on the pre-order store and, get you some good stuff that's going to be well articulated, modern anthropomorphic animal hero figures. Check it out. Me, Gil, and the guys at the Geek Out Show have been heavily supporting and heavily advocating for this line, and it's been a complete success. And this is the next Kickstarter that we're really excited for, and we're hoping to get everything that we've been promised out of this line. So, Todd, you did a good job on this Kickstarter. You made a ton of money, and here's hoping to your future endeavors. I hope they work out for you, man. All right, you guys have a great night and be safe. Take care this weekend. You guys have a great night.